What I'm teaching today is whimsical gnome homes. I'm going to give an overview. I'm not so much going to carve this time, but I will give all the points, extra little tidbits here and there that you will not ever get from instructors. What I'm going to start off with, we're going to be carving cottonwood bark. This is not wood. This is bark. Wood you can carve in any shape, any form. Bark is a little different. Bark grows in layers. In Michigan, or actually anywhere, as the wind blows, there's pollution, there's sand, there's dirt. It all collects in this bark. When you're carving bark versus basswood or any other wood, you have to sharpen your tools more often because you're cutting into dirt a lot. You may not see it and you may not feel it, but it's there. This grows in layers. All these layers can chip off very easily. I have been teaching Michigan and Indiana bark because if you can accomplish any type of bark carving from Michigan or Indiana, you can do any bark throughout the world because this is the absolute hardest. What I mean, the difference in bark. We have cottonwood bark. It is very dense in layers. The outside is very hard. The inside is really soft. It's very dense layers. Pine bark. Very different. Pine bark it's more of a shale looking in layers. I do not recommend that you carve pine bark. It's very hard. It took me quite a while to get this achieved. I still haven't put a door on it because I got so frustrated on how it was turning out. If you would like to try it, go for it. I carve anything that my knife will penetrate, and if my knife won't, I get out my Fordham and I power it. I carve everything. So the difference between these different barks, why people don't do walnut bark, oak bark, it's the difference in the layers. All those other ones don't hold together as well as cottonwood. That's why they're picking this. Cottonwood bark is harvested when the tree is dead. It is very difficult to get the bark off a fresh tree that just went down and to carve it. When I harvest cottonwood bark, I like the tree to lay at least 2 years. I can go in there, I can stick a shovel, whatever, under it, kick it down and get a 16-foot strip that pops off. On a green tree, I'll put it in there, kick it down, I get a piece about that long come off. And then I start, okay, we'll do it again and do it again. Pretty soon I'm that 16 foot and I'm angry, I'm done. With cottonwood bark, when you're sanding, it is toxic. A lot of people do not know this. If you're gonna do a little bit of sanding, no big deal. If you're sanding, you get a little pile of dust at your table, you better put a mask on. It's a toxic dust. That would be my advice. If you have done it before, I'm sure the next day you woke up maybe with a cough, maybe just a little congested. That's from the dust in the bark. If you work with it like I do daily, it will become a major problem with your breathing. So I always recommend if you're sanding any kind of power carving on any wood, you have to wear a mask. If you have a dust collection system, I think that's even better. I myself, I don't use a dust collecting system. I use a fan in the window and a mask. So safety first. A few things I'd like to show you that are very important. A toothbrush. We use a toothbrush in bark carving. If you make any cut whatsoever. Every carver that I know has a tendency to take their knife and go like this and chip it out. Take that little bit of chip out. With bark carving, that's a no-no. Every time you do that, you could chip a whole base out. You can, because this is in layers, it really would like to break off. So I use this brush, make a cut, clean it out, and you have a very clean cut. So this is one important. Second important, my friend Mr. Glue. Normally when I caricature carve, deep relief, actually any other carving I use, I do not use glue. If I carve a fish, the fins, everything is one piece of wood, no glue involved. With bark carving, glue is a must because it's in layers. As you start to cut, you can start seeing it start chipping out. Instantly, you're going to glue. Whenever you glue in bark, because it is grown in layers, if I put glue on the top, the glue is going to sit on the top. It doesn't penetrate your work whatsoever. If I'd like to glue, keep this ledge on, I'm going to hold it up, put the glue on the ledge. It will seep down into the layers. And that's what holds it on, is having it seep into the layers. If I, for example, this little one here, looks like it almost wants to break off. I'm going to turn it sideways. I'll glue it this way. It's not going to go anywhere. The glue that I'm using is the original super glue. You get them 2 for $1 at the dollar store when you can find them. Dollar stores, Family General, Dollar General, all those stores, they rotate their inventory, so they don't always have this. Sometimes they will have a different type of super glue, quick glue, all these. This will come back around. They also make the original super glue in a gel. Why I recommend this is because when you use this and you put finish on your work, it's going to show clear and not white. If you use an accelerator, a glue accelerator, number one, it will catch on fire. I do not recommend glue accelerators whatsoever. I am a very fast carver, and glue actually dries fast. If I don't require a glue accelerator, I really don't know many people that do. No one carves that fast. So this is an excellent glue. It doesn't show up when you put finish on. It's very quick drying. If you have a big chunk that comes off, you can always use the gel. And it comes in a tube, holds just as well, and you cannot see it. You can sand it, anything. It doesn't show up white. So this is important. These two items right here are very important. A pencil, just to mark out. Some people that I know use white. They do have seeing issues, so white is good if you can see it better. I still use a pencil. We never use the end, this orange eraser looking thing on the end of a pencil. Always use a white art eraser. The reason being, if you use this, your finish will not stick to it. If you use this, your finish, you rub it off, your finish sticks to it. So there's a big difference, and it depends on the finish. Sometimes you can use this, use a really cheap finish. Yeah, it may stick for a little bit, let the sun hit it, and it will peel. So that's just information that I found over years of working with bark. Very good. You can get these art erasers, 3 for $1. They come 3 in a pack, sometimes 3 for $2. Well worth it. If you can use one of these in your lifetime, then you've carved a lot. I'm just saying, these last a long time. I also use a little butainer. This is a little burner. It's an instant burner. It has other tips that come on it. What I use this for is, for example, on the top of this chimney, if I cut a hole in there and I want it to look used, I will burn inside that hole and it will look like it's a used chimney. If I break through the side, which, I mean, I do. You break through the side and I'm not able to fix it, I burn around that hole and it looks like it was made there, like it's supposed to be there. If anyone says anything, oh, you blew a hole through it, I always look at him and go, no, really, that's the way it's supposed to be. So, you're going to want a strap. You have to keep your tools sharp. The worst thing on bark, and you will start seeing it ripping the bark, your tools are not sharp. You will see it in the bark. There is a definite difference. Just like carving wood. If you carve one way, say even peeling a carrot, smooth as silk. You flip it around and it goes, flip your piece back around, make it smooth. That's telling you you're going against the grain. And as most of you know, it's easier just to go with the flow. You know, don't fight it. Carving bark takes a lot of imagination. You have to have an open mind. You have to be willing to accept change. Because as it breaks, stuff happens. You change it. What you may have set in your mind on a project may not turn out that way whatsoever. Accept it, as long as you like your piece when you're done. And normally, most people do. The ones that don't, we have fireplaces. Just saying. You don't necessarily always have to carve gnome homes. I myself, ornaments, I do maybe 200 a year. This particular piece actually was only about a ½ an inch. As you can see, it looks very deep. You can see detail. This is one, it's just an illusion. It's a very, very thin piece of bark. So part of bark carving is creating an illusion to trick the eye. Okay. Another ornament. Normally on Christmas ornaments, there's a ledge, your roof with your overhang, a door, and a window. And that's normally it. I always add rocks. I add a great big window, which most people do not do, for the simple fact it's very hard. I sell these anywhere from 20, 35 bucks a piece. I sell them in sets of 6, up to $200 for the set. They sell very quickly. Once you start getting people to know that you carve this kind of stuff, people love it. And they will accept anything that you do at that point. People love imaginations. This is a bark carving in the round. I called this one Pest Control, simply because you have your front door and you have a snake wrapping around that, eating the gnome home. So, pest control. I don't know how else to state it. This turned out very nice. I'm not sure I like the finish on it myself. This is a high gloss finish. I've chosen after this piece that I do not use high gloss anymore. Just for the simple fact that to me it's too shiny. It's supposed to be pesty. so, so imagination is a piece of scrap. What is that? I don't know, 3/8 of an inch thick. This is a Christmas ornament. I would burn a little doorknob in here. Hang it. Believe it or not, this piece of scrap will sell for $20. I know. I have no problem selling carvings. So if anyone has an issue selling carvings, you speak to me and we can adjust your selling strategies. And that works. Okay, so what we're going to start out with is the tools I use. I use a rough out knife and I use a detail knife. My rough out knife is just an old Whittle and Jack. $7 knife I got in a blanket trade. My other knife, my detail knife is a Helvey, a Floyd Radigan. I use this more than any tool that I have. I am a knife carver. I would suggest if you're going to do bark, you have a rough out knife for the outside because the outside is so hard and it's full of dirt. This would be your cheaper knife. Your detail knife is strictly for the inside because it's so soft. So those are my two main. I use two palm tools. They're just both flat, straight edge, one big, one little. Plain and simple. I use two gouges. They're not big gouges. These aren't anything special. Probably all of you have them. I use very limited tools. I'm not a hoarder. I'm not big on all the tools to carry everything. I only get what I require for my work. If I require something new, I'd be more than happy to buy it from any one of you. I am a tool freak. Micro tools. In the micro tools, this is not sure because I carved it off. We have two gouges. I call them, in the micro tools, a big gouge and a littler gouge. Two V tools, a medium V and a very small V. This is it. That is the extent, besides my draw knife. That's all the tools I use. Once in a while, I use sandpaper. That's it. So we're going to start off. When you start, you always want to make sure the back is flat. So when I make sure the back is flat, I do this trick. Everybody knows how to make a back flat, right? If you don't, this is wobbling. So what that tells me, it's hitting right in here because I'm wobbling right here. Normally I'm sitting holding this, so I don't recommend you do that. Close enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is the best thing about bark. Nothing is perfect. If you have it in your mind that it's okay for change, it may not turn out as you see it at that point. You're going to do just fine. It's all an imagination. So one of the first things I hear, and you don't always have to carve homes. You can carve faces. With these faces, these are actually Ed Johnson's that I worked very hard in an auction to get his stuff. He does excellent work. Here's another one. It's more difficult to do faces in the bark because it wants to chip. It's all in layers. Glue is your friend. So the first thing really we got to talk about is seeing wood. What do you see in the wood? So when I'm looking at a piece of bark, I always hold it an arm's length away. As you carve even caricatures, and you're holding everything right here, you start losing perspective of your carving. You hold it an arm's length away, and it changes. So, okay, I'd like to carve a home, a gnome home. And when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, number one, I have to find my ledge. Where's my door gonna be? Number two, where's my roof line? So when I'm looking at this piece, I'm thinking, maybe I can put a ledge down here on this crack, because now I'm gonna start working with the wood. When you work with basswood, walnut, any of that, you're not working with the wood, you are controlling the wood. You can put whatever your mind sees in that wood. When we work with bark, the wood is going to control us now. I'm going to work with it. So now I'm going to look for cracks and crevices. Maybe I can put a ledge with a door here, and maybe this be my roof line and have a chimney. Oh, maybe, I don't know, maybe I don't like that. We'll flip it over. Now, there's something totally different going on here. I could technically, there's a crack. I want to put my door here, maybe put some rocks, leave this hang, that kind of looks cool. Maybe have my roof line come that way and a chimney and cut some more off. Maybe not. Let's turn it this way. Whenever I turn any wood, bark, or anything on its side, I myself see animals. I carve a lot of animals, so I see a lot of animals. So when I'm turning it this way, I see some kind of an animal head coming this way. Maybe there's an eye, you know, it's your imagination. Whatever you can see, maybe you see a beaver in there. If you see nothing yet, then we flip it over again. Oh, that changed everything. Now there's something totally different going on in that piece of bark. It's all whatever your imagination can come up with. Sometimes I have set a piece of bark up in my living room and I've looked at it for 2 weeks, thinking, oh my goodness, and I flip it around and I move it over here and I do this. That is normal to do. I mean, I sometimes think it's not normal, but really it is if you want to really see what's in the wood. So what we start out with is our ledge. So when I'm looking at a piece of bark, I'm looking for where's my ledge and where's my overhang on my roof. What that does is once you create those, and these are simple stop cuts, very simple. So we find our ledge, we find our overhang on our roof. What that does is that creates this body, creates a body of the house. When we start doing this, now we start working in layers. This is one layer. The body is a second layer. If you create 3 layers in anything, you create depth, shadow, and an illusion for the eye. So in anything that I do on these, I start working in 3 layers. So we've got our ledge, we've got our overhang, now we've got our body worked out. We always do our shingles, our doors and our windows, and our rocks last. The reason we do this stuff last is I did shingles on here, then I did the window and the door, and then I did the rocks. And as I grabbed it, I broke the window out. I'm not one to fix the window. I'm not going to sell this. I'm not going to give it away. I'm probably not going to finish it. I broke the window. So all details last. You get the body done. You're ready to put your shingles on. You're ready to do all this. I am penciling everything out. If you don't like it, off it goes. I draw something new on. If I like it, that's what I carve. Okay. If you run into some bark that is very shaly, it's old, it wants to break, spray bottle, rubbing alcohol. 50-50 is what I mix it. Spray it on there. What it does, it will soften the bark, makes it expand. Cut it fast. The alcohol makes it dry. Within a minute and a half, everything's dry, ready to go. You can apply glue if you need to. Done. Handy trick. I also save parts and pieces. These go for doors, shutters, bridges, stairwells. I have done chandeliers, couches, pools, swings. If you can imagine anything in a home, I have carved it in a gnome home. So I save this kind of stuff. You never know when you can use it. I also save dust. This is very, very fine. So you don't want to breathe this because this is toxic. Dust. I break through an edge. I break something off. I mix this dust with just plain old white school glue, Elmer's white glue. Mix it in, fill it in. It's the same color. You can't see it. It's an excellent filler. So in my shop, I have all these pill bottles full. Butternut dust, walnut dust, maple dust, cottonwood bark dust. Fill in on anything. You want to spray finish on. A matte finish. This Krylon works on everything. If you're doing even character carving on bark, you scrub when you get done with your carving, you scrub it down with soap and water. Before you apply paint, you apply a layer of this and your paint doesn't run. It won't bleed or anything. So this is very good. I use this as a finish. I really like the Krylon or even this semi-gloss satin. It doesn't have that high gloss pitch. Always make sure you get the non-yellowing. When sun hits your project, it will yellow it. Great, well thank you for your time and your attention.